It's the Dealership News Podcast. This is Kelly Kleinman of dealershipnews.com. And today we travel north of the border into Canada to visit Alan Dickie, a dynamic speaker, sales trainer, motivator, team builder, who's been serving the automotive industry by beating lazy car salesmen over the head for over 15 years. If you want a human cattle prod to pump your personnel and profit up, you call Alan Dickie. Alan, thanks for giving us a few minutes of your time.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
How cold is it up in beautiful Ontario? You know, real quickly, I just want to say that I grew up listening to a radio station out of Windsor called CKLW. It was an unbelievable station. I don't know how old you are, but you might be too old to know that was probably the greatest radio station of all time.
Well, great to hear you've had some inspiration from north of the border. It's it's a little chilly up here, but we're getting through it okay. No complaints on our side. I'm used to it by now.
Yeah, we would expect that north of the border. Hey, let me ask you a question. You've been doing this a long time. Who were some of your mentors, and who inspired you to do what you do?
You know, it's funny. That's a question I get asked a lot, and the answer is there are none. My story is a unique one. I was a gentleman who didn't end up finishing high school, and it wasn't due to a lack of ability. It was an immense lack of interest for what they were teaching me. But the way the world described my future in a factory banging a hammer, gosh, the way they made it sound, I felt like I should pour a warm bath, plug a toaster into the wall, and have somebody throw it to me. Luckily for me, ignorance was bliss, and I always enjoyed communicating with people, and I simply made a decision. I wasn't going to bang a hammer in a factory, and I walked into a car dealership at the ripe young age of 19 or 20 years old, and I'll never forget saying to the used car manager, "Hey, man, I want to come and sell cars," to which he responded to me, "Well, what makes you think you can do that?" And without batting an eye, I responded, "Well, what makes you think I can't?" 2 hours later, I had 21 Chevy brochures, and my career started in the car business.
With Chevrolet, I guess that's your path to success. That was actually going to be my next question, but what would your elevator pitch sound like for Alan Dickie should you ever need one? And at this point, I doubt you do, but I guess after all, always be selling, right?
Well, it's so funny. Our industry as a whole has viewed the acquisition of leads and customers through this push marketing sort of tactic, if you will. We take a convenient idea, thought, concept, or in this case, pitch, and when it's convenient to us, we jam it down the throats of unsuspecting potential clients. And for me, I would refer to an elevator pitch as more of, an elevator question, if you will. Anytime I see a potential customer, the way I engage them and the way we all should be engaging potential clients today is through asking questions. You see, when you ask questions, that's where human beings reveal an innate nature that they have, and that is that we are all selfish. And this isn't a negative thing. But my point being is when asking the right questions, you will start to unearth the inherently selfish desires of your potential clients. And just so I'm clear, when I say selfish, it's quite normal for a dealer to say, well, I'm selfishly showing up to work to be profitable today. This is very normal. It's not a negative thing. I can't stress that enough. But through the answers that they give to questions, I then like to provide solutions. So I don't ever try to elevator pitch as it has been mentioned. I like to have conversations, and if I was to say, hey, how's things going with your business? And they say, fantastic, or perhaps they'll say, well, we're having some challenges on the sales side. I would then say, well, what type of challenges are you experiencing? Well, we can't find the right people. And at that point, I would ask an effective question. Hey, I'm just curious, if there was a way for you to target and source the exact individuals that you desire to have on your floor, and it could be done seamlessly in a matter of days, would you be interested in doing so? And then upon that, when they say, yes, they've engaged me in a pull marketing sense, and this really allows me to have a conversation that they will feel as though they started, and that ultimately will afford me all the time necessary for me to accomplish my desired result.
What does your checklist look like when you're hired by a dealer to turn things around? And what are some of the typical issues you find when analyzing performance in virtually any dealership?
Well, when it comes to my checklist, when I'm going to start working with dealers and what have you, it starts with the pieces. What does the team look like? Before we can get involved on, what different techniques and strategies and approaches I feel would be effective for any organization, it's important that we have the right team members involved that can digest them, absorb them, and in turn effectively carry them out. So that would be my starting point. Once we have the right team in place, really the world's our oyster and anything can be accomplished. And that all starts with having the right individuals with what I like to refer to as ACE, the right attitude, conviction, and energy. For if those three things are in place, any human being can go anywhere. And the fact of the matter is people don't buy cars, people buy people. So that is the first and foremost starting point for me. And I really believe that once that's in place, the rest of it is easy.
Well, you're mentioning people, and there's been a historic distrust for car dealers here in the States for sure, and maybe it's worldwide, I don't know. But as a follow-up, are dealers looked at with the same healthy modicum of distrust as they are here? And how do you go about creating a sales force, a team of trustworthy, honest salesmen? Because trust is everything, isn't it, in buying a car?
100%. I mean, the first part of that question, I think it's all relative. In my experiences, I would say, over 50 or 60% of my business is done south of the border. So I spend a lot of time in dealerships all across the United States. And while the reputations do exist, they exist back home here as well. And I think it's all relative. I think the American customer is acclimated to the dealership experience, or at least some of those negative experiences that they've had that perpetuate these stereotypes. It's the same thing up here, north of the border, as I'm sure it's the same all over the world. At the end of the day, we do have a business that the only way we're going to get rid of these negative stereotypes that we've had in past years is through doing business in a transparent fashion with integrity. And so finding the right individuals who are willing to subscribe to that, in my opinion, are found when you go looking for clay and not statues. What I mean by that is a lot of people who have been in this industry, some of them are jaded by these perceptions, perhaps even experiences that sales representatives have had with customers that help perpetuate these stereotypes. My personal and successful approach to handling this in stores is I go after clay. I want to go after individuals who have never sold a car in their life, so we can be the ones responsible to fill them up with the right information and perceptions about our industry, about the challenges they are going to experience with customers and how to properly handle them. So one by one, we can start to turn the perception of our business into a much more positive one.
Great answer, by the way. I agree with you 100%. I wanted to touch base on leads because leads are the lifeblood of any dealership. How do you train dealerships to properly follow up leads, considering the fact that only 19% of internet leads are ever responded to, according to a number of sources, including a research project that we undertook several months ago?
The answer to that one is interesting as well. I mean, while I do teach sales representatives how to properly, effectively, and efficiently follow up with all leads of any kind, the true solution to this challenge here is the opposite. It's instead of focusing up on the following up of these leads to the nth degree, I focus on creating enough opportunities to avoid failure. We know the internet and the way it's designed, and your percentages are accurate as far as what we can expect, as far as results from those inquiries. While there is a system that can be used to follow up on them, a lot of those things can be automated. And when they're automated, we are not wasting time chasing down potentially opportunities that don't exist. I think a lot of our good internet lead traffic sort of reveals itself to be such, and when handled properly, we can turn those customers from an internet lead to a delivered unit within a 7-day period. If I'm going to encourage an internet lead department on how to sell more units, because ultimately that is the goal that we're all trying to accomplish, I would focus more energy on how to create enough opportunities to ensure and guarantee we hit our target, as opposed to strategies on following up people that sometimes will never get back to us. Because again, those things can all be automated. And when dealerships do know how to automate them properly through effective marketing emails that will generate responses and create interactions, that's how we can get those percentages to rise. But ultimately, the goal here with these leads is sell and deliver units. And instead of focusing on following up the 100 of them a month, perhaps, that we have, I like to show dealers on how they can drive 500 to 800 of those opportunities on a monthly basis through the doors to guarantee a result that they expect.
Do you think that a dealership should have a separate internet sales department from its physical lot staff? Or do you think there shouldn't even be a division? Because let's face it, I mean, some people are a lot more internet savvy than others, and of course, depending on the age of the person, on the lot, maybe they're not as again internet savvy as somebody a little bit younger.
You know what? It's funny. Excuse me. It's funny. A lot of times, I say to individuals, the truth can hurt. Yes. And with that being said, I have a statement I make all the time, a principle, if you will, and it is this: if you're green, you're growing. If you're ripe, you're rotting. So in my opinion, an effective sales representative should be able to effectively handle internet traffic, fresh lot traffic, the own leads they generate personally, handle that traffic. They should be capable of doing all things. While some organizations feel as though it's more effective to separate them up in departments, and there are examples where that does hold true. As far as an individual is concerned, if I'm an individual who's on the lot, while I may be on the lot, I'm definitely investing my time and energy to know how to handle the internet. I always say to people, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. And if you want to get lucky on the car lot today and capture business, you better be prepared to handle any and all of those opportunities. So for those individuals who feel, well, leave the technology to the new younger people coming in, I don't know that. I hate to inform you, you are of the group I described as ripe and rotting, and it will be a matter of time before you will not find yourself on a dealership floor.
By the way, I'm going off script on this one, but if anybody out there has an opportunity to see some of your videos, it's hard hitting and it's really entertaining. I love it. It's you're right in their face. Literally, you are taking a sledgehammer and slamming the lazy car salesman right over the head.
It's funny you mention that, because this is what the problem is, and it's funny. I was just speaking at a conference a few days ago where I spent a good portion of time on this, and I'll sum it up like this: there's no money in gray. There is no money in gray, and people need to stop playing in the gray space. You need to commit. You need to be black or you need to be white. Now, my message, 90% of the people who consume it, they all speak like you. They're motivated by it, they're inspired by it, and they understand that that's exactly what I'm doing, is speaking the truth in the name of developing as many automotive sales representatives as possible. But I love a saying and a proverb, if you will, that I'll share with your audience, and it goes like this: anytime you throw a stone into a pig pen, the pig that squeals is the one that got hit. I say that because if anybody watching my videos is ever offended by what comes out of my mouth, I assure you, it's not my words, it's their mirror. So I do things the way I do because if you are a motivated individual who does want to take, and never mind not want to take, who's made the decision to take your career and your results to the next level, then I am going to be the best thing since sliced bread to come into your life. But if you are one of the mediocre who don't plan on doing anything and just want to sit and exist in a store, I am not going to be somebody you are a fan of. And I'm at peace with that either way.
You're the Vince Lombardi of motivational automotive speakers.
I like that.
Right?
I like that.
Let me ask you a question regarding full transparency. When a lead's coming in, when somebody contacts a dealership and they ask for inventory availability and price on demand, many dealers down here are reticent to give that information away. What's your take on that?
We're in a service-based business, and many times a lot of people in the internet lead space, they all believe that this is a price game. They treat it as though all that matters is price, and those that do are definitely not experiencing the success that they should be. For me, I'm always about providing everything and anything a customer can ask for, but there is a way to effectively do it. A lot of times when interacting with customers, I'll explain to salespeople, for example, I'll say to them, if you're answering more questions than you're asking, you're in trouble. And I also say to them that all great salespeople make decisions for customers while allowing their customers to feel as though they have made the decisions. Now, why do I share that with you? Simple. Because through an effective conversation, you can provide all of the value, all of the information that your client is asking for, while at the same time, step by step, sealing up your deal and the fact that they're going to do business with you. I can't stress it enough. earlier we were talking about pull marketing versus push marketing. When you're effectively pull marketing to an audience, you are constantly remaining in a space where you provide value. And value doesn't necessarily mean car payments to customers. Value could be something like sharing with your audience on social media, something to the effect of, hey, folks, have you ever considered tinting the windows to your vehicle? It could prolong the life of your interior from fading from the sun. Just another friendly tip from Alan Dickie, your car guy. By providing value like this, we remain top of mind with our customers. And by doing so, when their need shows up, so will their inherently selfish desire, as I spoke to in the beginning. And that desire being, hey, I need a vehicle. And if I'm top of mind doing my job effectively with them, they're the ones who are going to reach out to me saying, hey, Alan, I need some information, I need a car, blah, 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 blah. And I'll be able to provide that and control an experience where I will be the only one that they ever talk to as far as considering who they're going to purchase the vehicle from. So transparency is key. The more elusive you try to become, the less trustworthy you present yourself to be to a potential client, and that never ends up in a sold and a delivered unit.
When somebody brings Alan Dickie into the car dealership, what can they expect? What's your approach? What's your game plan?
The game plan is really simple. The relationships I establish with dealerships, they're founded on trust. A dealer needs to understand what my ideology is, what my philosophies are, and upon agreeing upon them, they need to put a lot of trust and faith in me and my ability to accomplish our desired result. In some instances, there's a little bit of cage rattling that needs to take place. And while that can sometimes make a dealer nervous because they don't want to upset any of the flow on their floor, I've got an incredibly unique ability to get done what needs to be done without having to scream, as you've seen me mock in some of my videos, dealers that do things in that manner. Sure. But based on that trust, I let the team members know that I'm working with, that we love them, and that our dealership supports them, and that the evidence of that support is, of course, having me on board. But I also let everybody know that we're in a performance-based business and we must remain accountable. The fact of the matter is every sales representative inside a dealership is responsible for, on average, $25,000 of gross profit per month. The dealer is providing a wonderful facility, telephones, internet, heat, air conditioning, desks, computers, and millions of dollars of inventory for them to effectively do their job. And so when it's understood that this is what is necessary and we are willing, collectively, myself and the dealership, to support their people right to the end of the earth, results will be required. And the statement sounds like this: you're either in or you're in the way. And we mean it with all the motivation and respect on the planet. But what I do, which is unique to anybody else in the space, is I have the ability to produce sales talent on demand anywhere in North America, and I've successfully done it with a multitude of stores, and they absolutely love that service, because if we can't make it work with the current team, which we will definitely attempt to do that on the first go-around, I have the ability to produce the clay I referred to early on and develop it into exactly what we're looking for, and this is how I'm able to ensure and guarantee results.
Great answer, Alan. Let me ask you a question. Where is Alan Dickie going to be in 5 years?
Alan Dickie in 5 years? I don't think you or your audience are ready for that answer. I'm joking, but I'm not. Alan Dickie in 5 years, I think, will be the number one authority in the automotive retail sales space. Somebody who has built a massive following of automotive individuals who have experienced my teachings and bared much fruit from them. I'm really passionate about this industry, and I love Zig Ziglar's quote because it's something I've lived and died by ever since I started my career, and that is, you can have anything you want to in life as long as you help others get what they want to in life. Giving induces reciprocation, and this has been my philosophy, and this is why I've experienced the success that I have. As I continue to give, because the fact is you cannot lead until you've served, as I continue to give and serve this industry, I believe that that will have the industry appreciate what we're trying to accomplish, and in turn, bring me up as a top authority in it. And that's something I'm working at diligently every day to bring about.
Yeah, I think we're all very, very familiar with Zig Ziglar. Alan, listen, awesome talking to you. It's been great making your acquaintance. We'll be following you. Hopefully we'll see you at some of these automotive trade shows and expos coming up in 2018. And again, thank you for spending some time with us, and we'll speak to you soon.
I appreciate the time very much, and I wish all of your listeners happy selling. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye, Alan.
Bye-bye.
That was Alan Dickie. This is Kelly Kleinman for the Dealership News. Our podcast is now over. We'll see you soon.